Okay, so today we're diving into something that honestly doesn't get talked about nearly enough, and that is vaginal health.
Yeah.
Specifically, we're going to be looking at gonorrhea and kind of the impact that it can have on the balance of your vaginal health,
Right.
which, even if you're not dealing with this right now, I think it's just valuable knowledge for everyone
Absolutely.
to just get a better grasp on.
Yeah, understanding how that all works is really important.
Totally. And
Yeah.
so at the heart of all this is Neisseria gonorrhea.
Right.
That's the bacteria that's responsible for gonorrhea. And
Mhm.
it's a pretty common STI. And, one of the things that's so tricky about it is that you might not even have symptoms at first,
Right.
or the symptoms could be really mild. So it's
Yeah, they can be very subtle.
easy to overlook. But if it goes untreated, it can really have some significant and lasting effects on
Yeah.
your vaginal and reproductive health.
Yeah, I can.
So for this deep dive,
Yeah.
what we want to do is really unpack a few things.
Mm-hmm.
First, like how does gonorrhea actually disrupt the natural harmony of your vaginal health?
Right.
What are the potential long-term issues that can arise if it's not addressed?
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, like most importantly, how can you support your body in recovering and maintaining that overall vaginal health?
Absolutely. Those are all really important things to focus on.
So let's jump right in. And I guess the first thing to understand is how does a gonorrhea infection even work?
Right.
Like what's going on there that starts to disrupt things?
Yeah. So to really get that, we have to kind of appreciate what a healthy vagina is like to begin with.
Yeah.
It's a really cool system. It's basically like its own little ecosystem. It's a community of microorganisms living together. And there's one particular type of bacteria that is like the real star of the show, and that's lactobacillus.
Okay, I've heard of those. Yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of the unsung heroes, working really hard to keep the environment down there slightly acidic. So the pH level ideally sits somewhere between 3.8 and 4.5.
Okay.
And that acidity is super important because it's like a natural shield against harmful bacteria.
So it's like the first line of defense.
Exactly. Maintaining that slightly acidic pH is like your body's way of saying, not welcome to the bad guys.
Yeah, I like that.
Right.
Yeah. So that's like the healthy state. But then how does gonorrhea mess all that up?
Right. So there are a few key ways that gonorrhea disrupts this balance.
Okay.
And the first one is what we call microbial imbalance.
Uh-huh.
So basically, the gonorrhea bacteria can actually cause a reduction in the amount of those beneficial lactobacillus.
No.
Yeah. And it's kind of like...
Get out of here.
Like lactobacillus is like the... if you think of it as an ecosystem, they're like the keystone species.
Uh-huh.
When they're thriving, everything else is more balanced and resilient.
Right.
But if their numbers go down, the vagina's defenses weaken, and it makes you more susceptible to all sorts of other infections. So you might see things like bacterial vaginosis or yeast infections cropping up more easily.
So it's like a security system and it's just lost.
Exactly.
Like some of its key personnel.
Right.
Not good.
Not good at all.
All right, so that's one way. What's kind of the second way that it interferes?
The second major disruption is inflammation and irritation.
Okay.
So the infection basically, it irritates the tissues in the vagina and the cervix.
Right.
And that can cause a lot of discomfort, pain when you urinate, pain during sex.
Ouch.
And it can also increase the risk of tissue damage.
So it's not just the presence of the bacteria, it's also the body's reaction to it that's causing the problem.
Exactly. It's that inflammatory response that can really lead to a cascade of issues.
Okay, and what about that pH balance that we were talking about earlier?
Right. So that's the third big disruption that we see.
Okay.
Elevated vaginal pH. So as those lactobacillus, their numbers go down, they're producing less lactic acid, which is what helps maintain that acidic environment. So the pH level starts to rise. And when that happens, it creates a much more welcoming environment for all those harmful bacteria to thrive.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so that increase in pH can contribute to recurring infections and, other complications. It can become a bit of a vicious cycle.
Yeah, vicious cycle. All right, so we've got three. So far, we've got the microbial imbalance, the inflammation and irritation, and the pH balance. What's the fourth way that gonorrhea throws things off?
Right, so the fourth major disruption is increased susceptibility to other infections.
Okay.
When the vaginal barrier is compromised by the gonorrhea infection,
Right.
it essentially lowers the defenses. And this makes it much easier for other pathogens to get in, including, things as serious as HIV.
Wow, so it really kind of opens the door for
Yeah,
a lot of other potential problems.
it can, unfortunately.
Yeah, so really serious consequences right from the get-go. And we've touched on this a little bit already, but I want to understand more about what happens if this infection isn't treated.
Yeah, that's a really important point to discuss.
Yeah, what are the long-term consequences?
So if that Neisseria gonorrhea is left to its own devices,
Right.
it can actually start to travel up the reproductive tract.
Oh.
And that's when it can lead to a really serious condition called pelvic inflammatory disease, or PID for short.
Okay. And what exactly is PID? What kind of problems does that cause?
So PID can cause chronic pelvic pain, which, can be really debilitating and have a big impact on your quality of life.
Right.
It can also increase the risk of ectopic pregnancies,
Oh, wow.
which are pregnancies that occur outside the uterus, and those can be life-threatening.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it can also lead to infertility. It can damage the fallopian tubes.
So really serious consequences.
Yes, very serious consequence.
And not just in the short term, but really long-term impact as well.
Absolutely. And on top of all of that, the inflammation that comes with the gonorrhea infection can also, over time, weaken the immune system in general. So, it's like this one infection can really create a domino effect of problems.
Like a downward spiral.
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah. So really important to get on top of it early on.
Absolutely. Early detection and treatment is key.
So I'm curious, after the antibiotics have done their job
Right.
and cleared the infection, does everything just kind of like bounce back to normal down there? Or
That's a great question. And
is there a recovery process?
it's not always as simple as you might think.
Okay.
So while antibiotics are definitely crucial
Right.
for eliminating that bacteria, they can sometimes have the side effect of disrupting the vaginal microbiome.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
All those beneficial bacteria we've been talking about.
Those good guys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's actually really important to actively support your vaginal health during and after treatment. And it often involves taking a more holistic approach.
So what does that actually look like? What are the key things that people can do to kind of help themselves recover?
Right. So there are 4 main areas to focus on.
Okay.
The first one is restoring microbial balance.
So getting those good bacteria back.
Exactly. And this involves replenishing those beneficial lactobacillus.
Right?
And one of the most effective ways to do that is with high-quality probiotics.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, they can really help rebuild a healthy vaginal microbiome and maintain that acidic pH.
So it's like repopulating the area after.
Yeah, think of it like reseeding your garden with good bacteria.
I like that. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so we're repopulating. What's the second step?
The second area to focus on is reducing inflammation.
Okay.
Remember, the infection causes irritation.
Yeah.
So incorporating ingredients that have soothing and anti-inflammatory properties can be really helpful.
Right.
So things like aloe vera.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And even reishi mushroom. Yeah, those can help promote healing and provide some comfort to those irritated tissues.
Yeah, so it's like kind of soothing and helping the body repair.
Exactly.
Okay, what's next?
The third aspect of this holistic approach is strengthening immune defenses.
Right.
Your immune system is your best defense against future infections.
Yeah.
And it's really important for overall vaginal health as well. And certain nutrients can really help bolster your immune resilience.
Okay.
Things like arabinogalactin.
Okay.
And actually, reishi mushroom, again, can be helpful for that as well.
Oh, wow. So it's like a double whammy.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so we've got strengthen the defenses, and then what's the fourth piece of the puzzle?
All right, so the fourth and final piece is addressing any lingering harmful pathogens.
Okay.
So even after the antibiotic treatment, it can be helpful to support your body's natural ability to keep those bad bacteria in check.
Right.
And there are some natural antimicrobial agents that can help with that.
Oh, like what?
Things like oregano leaf extract
Oh, interesting.
and caprylic acid. Those can target harmful bacteria without disrupting the balance of the good ones.
So it's like a multi-pronged approach.
Yep.
We're rebuilding the good bacteria.
Right.
We're soothing the inflammation. We're strengthening the defenses.
Yeah.
And then we're going after any of those bad guys that might be left over.
Exactly. It's about creating an environment where your body can heal and thrive.
That's awesome. And you mentioned that the vaginal microbiome is really key to preventing those recurrent infections. Can we talk a little bit more about the specific roles of some of those good bacteria?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really fascinating when you get down to the details.
Okay.
A healthy vaginal microbiome, it's not just this general concept.
Right.
It's made up of lots of different types of bacteria that all contribute in their own special way.
Okay.
So you've got Lactobacillus acidophilus, L. rhamnosus,
Okay.
L. reuteri, L. plantarum, and even Bacillus coagulans.
Wow, so it's a whole team.
It's like a whole team working together.
So what are they each, like, what are their superpowers?
Well, as a group, those Lactobacillus species, they're really great at maintaining that acidic environment we keep talking about. They produce lactic acid, which helps lower the pH
Right.
and makes it much harder for many harmful pathogens to grow.
Okay.
They also play a really important role in enhancing the local immune function.
Okay.
So making the immune system in that area more effective at fighting off infections. And importantly, they help prevent secondary infections like bacterial vaginosis yeast infections and even urinary tract infections.
So it's like a well-coordinated team effort down there.
Exactly. They're all working together to maintain balance and ward off invaders.
I love that. I love that imagery. And, speaking of support, I saw that in our research materials, there was a mention of a product called Balance Complex.
Right.
How does this fit into the picture?
So Balance Complex is described as a scientifically formulated supplement that's designed to support those key areas we've been talking about. So restoring balance to the vaginal microbiome,
Right.
reducing inflammation and strengthening immune defenses. And it's specifically marketed for supporting vaginal health, including after an infection like gonorrhea.
Okay, and sounds like it's been around for a while.
Yeah, it looks like it's been on the market for over 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And they've sold a really impressive number of units.
That's cool.
And it's described as a probiotic specifically formulated for women.
Okay.
And it contains 100 billion CFUs per gram.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a high concentration of those live bacteria.
Right.
And it also includes cranberry and D-mannose.
Oh, okay. I've heard of those.
Yeah, those are ingredients that are often associated with supporting urinary tract health.
Right.
And they actually highlight that it has tons of positive reviews.
That's awesome. So what are some of the specific ingredients in Balance Complex that address those key areas we were just talking about?
Okay, so it contains a vaginal probiotic blend
Okay.
with a bunch of those key lactobacillus species we just mentioned. Acidophilus rhamnosus, reuteri plantarum, and Bacillus coagulans.
Okay.
And they each contribute in slightly different ways, but they're all working to maintain a healthy environment down there.
Right.
Establishing that acidic pH, promoting microbial balance, supporting the mucosal immunity, providing antioxidant protection, and helping to prevent that fungal overgrowth.
Right.
So really tackling that need to rebuild the microbial balance.
Awesome. What else does it have?
All right, so it also includes a cranberry and D-mannose blend.
Okay.
And we touched on this before. Cranberry can help prevent bacteria from sticking to the urinary tract. And D-mannose can actually help flush out bacteria.
Yeah.
And this is relevant because, disruptions in vaginal health can sometimes be linked to an increased risk of UTIs.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point about the connection between those two things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then what about those natural ways to kind of keep the bad bacteria at bay?
Right. So Balance Complex also includes oregano leaf extract, which is a natural antimicrobial, and it's thought to be effective against harmful bacteria.
Cool.
And it also includes caprylic acid, which is a medium-chain fatty acid that has both antibacterial and antifungal properties.
Oh, wow.
So it helps eliminate those harmful pathogens without disrupting the good bacteria.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then anything else in there to kind of help deal with lingering issues?
Right. So it also includes protease and cellulase.
Okay, I don't know that.
Those are enzymes that can help break down biofilms.
What are biofilms?
So you can think of biofilms like
it's
like harmful bacteria sometimes create this sticky shield around themselves.
Oh.
It's like a protective layer.
Oh, wow.
And protease and cellulase are like little tools that break down that shield.
Cool.
So it makes it easier for your body and the other ingredients to fight off those bacteria.
So it's like they come in, they're like, we're going to break down this wall.
Exactly.
Oh, amazing.
And then, of course, we can't forget about the inflammation and the immune support. So for soothing inflammation, it includes aloe vera leaf, which has well-known soothing and healing and anti-inflammatory effects.
Awesome.
For boosting the immune system, it's got arabinogalactan, which is a natural compound that can enhance immune function.
Cool.
It's also got any seed, which has both antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory benefits. Black walnut hulls are in there. Those have antibacterial and antifungal properties. Wormwood is another ingredient that's traditionally been used to combat bacterial infections, and it's thought to support the immune system.
Wow.
And then finally, it also includes reishi mushroom,
Okay.
which is an adaptogen that helps enhance immune resilience and reduce inflammation.
So it really is a very comprehensive approach.
Yeah, it seems like they really tried to cover all the bases.
Yeah, it really does target a lot of those different aspects that we were talking about. And so beyond supplements, what are some practical things that people can do every day to kind of maintain that good vaginal health?
Right. There are a few key lifestyle practices that can make a big difference.
Okay.
The first one is practicing safe intimacy, so consistently using condoms,
Right.
which is really important for reducing the risk of STIs.
Absolutely.
The second one is following proper hygiene,
Yeah.
and that means using gentle, fragrance-free cleansers externally and avoiding douching.
Yeah. I've heard that about douching.
Yeah, douching can really disrupt the delicate balance of the vaginal microbiome.
Right. It's like you're just washing everything away.
Exactly. You want to let your body's natural mechanisms do their job.
Totally. So gentle cleansing, no douching. What else?
Wearing breathable clothing can also be really helpful.
Okay.
So opting for cotton underwear and avoiding tight-fitting synthetic garments
Makes sense.
that can reduce moisture buildup and irritation.
Uh-huh.
And just like with overall health, staying well hydrated is super important.
Right.
Drinking plenty of water helps your body's natural detoxification processes.
Yeah.
And then finally, eating a balanced diet, including probiotic-rich foods like yogurt and fermented vegetables.
Oh, yeah.
Those can contribute to a healthy microbial balance.
So lots of good practical advice there. And then I also noticed a mention of a website called vaginalquiz.com.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so vaginalquiz.com is described as a quick science-backed quiz that you can take online,
Okay.
and it gives you a personalized analysis of your vaginal health
Yeah, cool.
in under 2 minutes.
Wow, it's quick.
Yeah, it's designed to be really easy and accessible.
That's awesome.
And the idea is to help you understand any potential imbalances
Okay.
that might be connected to things like recurring infections, dryness, changes in libido, or just general intimate wellness.
So it's like a tool to give you a little more insight into what's going on.
Exactly. It's like a starting point for paying closer attention to your body.
Cool.
And after you take the quiz, you get a customized overview of your vaginal health profile.
Okay.
It highlights any potential areas of imbalance, and it gives you expert-backed suggestions tailored to your symptoms and your lifestyle.
Oh, wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, and that might include recommendations for supplements
Right.
or daily habits that could help you restore balance.
Awesome.
Yeah, and they emphasize that it's fast, it's free, and it's private.
Great. So it sounds like a really valuable resource for anyone who wants to be a little more proactive about their vaginal health.
I think so, yeah. It's a great way to kind of start that journey of understanding and supporting your body.
Awesome. Well, this has been such an informative deep dive.
Yeah, it's been great to talk about this.
Yeah, I think, it's so clear that being proactive about vaginal health is just so important, especially when it comes to things like gonorrhea.
Absolutely.
And I think understanding the potential long-term effects
Right.
really underscores the need for, timely care and ongoing support.
Yeah, and not just addressing the infection, but really supporting that overall ecosystem.
Yeah,
It's about fostering and maintaining that balance of beneficial bacteria.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up, I just want to leave everyone with this thought. Think about the connection between your overall health and your vaginal health.
Right.
What are some small, informed steps that you can take to better understand and support your body's natural balance?
Yeah, it's a great question for everyone to consider.
Yeah, it's all part of taking care of yourself.
Absolutely.
So I hope this has been helpful for everyone listening. And yeah, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right, take care.
Bye.